When I was a young man, I remember looking at a particular movie, a movie that I remember my mother seeing. I remember this movie specifically because it was one of the few movies my mother went to the theater and saw alone. My dad was working at the time, and my mother planned this particular outing with pinpoint execution. I remember my sister and I were seeing a re-release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time. And I hated this film when I first saw it. This was an opportunity for our mom to simultaneously get us to the mall and pass us off to the theater while she engrossed herself with a little movie I like to call Interview with a Vampire. I remember at the time my mother making sure that my sister and I had enough snacks. She made sure that we had the right seats, and when she was satisfied with all the parameters, she left the theater the fastest I had ever seen her walk away. Now, of course, I, being the curious and clingy son, told my sister to wait here while I followed my mother, like a spy, out of the movie and into the adjoining theater where Interview with the Vampire was playing. Almost like a sixth sense, in a matter of seconds, my mother turned around and gave me a look I can only describe as the Mama Bangangekyo Sharingan. The look halted me in my tracks, and with one warm hand on my shoulder, she politely told me,
"I'm in charge."
Do you feel in charge?
"Go back to your sister and wait for me until I get you. Do you understand me?" I shook my head in compliance and fear and ran back to my sister to see the god-awful TMNT 3. While looking at this film, I wondered why my mom did that and why did she say that to me? For most of my young life, my mother and I have always seen the same movies together. Half of my movie knowledge came from her. However, this particular event was different. This event felt like something sacred. My mother wanted to, just for a moment, enjoy her beautiful vampire movie in peace, without the distraction of her children interrupting that sacred, blissful period. Years later, when I finally saw Interview with a Vampire, I loved it. My mother never talked to me about the movie. She just told me that she loved it. And when I asked her why she did not let me see the movie at the time, she said, because it's R-rated, and it was her alone time. I say all this to say that there are some movies I look at that are movies I watch, where I suddenly get a weirdly romantic and wonderful feeling. The movies are quite subjective in quality, depending on who you talk to. However, there's another reason why I love watching these particular movies. And it's not for the movie itself, or what it has to say. Those are mere bonuses. The reason why I love these movies is that I like watching the performances of the men starring in them. I say like because I get a feeling of giddiness and elation, like I'm a schoolgirl or something. I always used to watch these movies, and then when a friend or relative would enter the room, I would change the channel as quickly as possible. Over the years, and even now, I always wondered why I felt that way. Like, I was ashamed. I did this when I was in a car listening to or singing along to one of my favorite Whitney, Mariah, Janet, or Madonna songs. Specifically when I picked up the boys for a game of basketball or just to hang out. As soon as I approached their place, I would turn down the volume, roll up my windows, and blast some dude-approved music from my CD mix, never revealing my secret and sacred time to myself or them. In this video, I want to discuss my favorite male performances in film and why I'm mesmerized by the men in these movies, and a chance to explore these feelings and why I believe it's okay to feel them. So let's talk about it. Jaye Davidson as Raw in Stargate, 1994. I recently looked at Stargate, a movie that is a mixed bag in my opinion. It has one of my favorite actors in it, Kurt Russell, but he's not the main character. It's a sci-fi action movie that discusses interstellar travel and Egyptology while also being a romance. But for some reason, none of these elements capture my attention more than the first time I see Jaye Davidson glide across the screen as the Egyptian god Ra. Stargate tells the story of how a broke and young linguistic professor named Dr. Daniel Jackson comes into contact with a wealthy benefactor named Catherine Langford, who long ago found something in the Egyptian desert. This artifact, the Stargate, has puzzled the military and her team of researchers for years, and she believes Dr. Jackson is the only person in the world who can uncover this secret. to activating was essentially a portal to a parallel universe, unlike our own. Together, Dr. Jackson and a colonel with a tragic past named Colonel Jonathan Jack O'Neill travel to a world to uncover the secrets of the Stargate and find an Egyptian god named Ra, who has enslaved a group of inhabitants from learning to read and write. Ra's purpose is to mercilessly capture and recruit the young and strong into his service. What is fascinating, well, at least for me, about Jaye Davidson's portrayal of Ra is how gorgeous he is to look at. I can't take my eyes off him. His portrayal is very sensual and creepy all at the same time. He is surrounded by young attendants who dress him in his royal garb and are willing to sacrifice themselves to protect him. Ra shows his power of influence without screaming or punching his subordinates. A mere look from Ra of disdain is enough to scare his henchmen, who are actually 4 feet taller and weigh 200 pounds more. The androgyny of Ra is something that has always appealed to me. Musicians like Prince, David Bowie, even video game characters like Cloud and Sephiroth use their looks to capture the hearts and minds of fans around the globe. What is particularly captivating about Jaye Davidson is not only his ephemeral beauty, but his calm and sadistic nature as Ra in the film. These traits work hand in hand to make him a memorable villain. A villain with probably the least screen time of any character in the film. I'm also aware of how difficult of an actor Jaye was while filming Stargate, and how he was reluctant to be in the film. There were times I wish there was a separate movie or show just to explore just Ra. Now, I have never seen the subsequent Stargate TV shows, movies, or attended the conventions, but it's all to say, it is a shame this was the last major film Jaye was in besides the acclaimed The Crying Game. Jaye's portrayal of Ra remains the most intriguing part of the film to me decades later, and it's still difficult to look away when he's on screen. For just a few moments, Brad Pitt as Death in Meet Joe Black. I've already mentioned another great movie with Brad Pitt in it. Brad had a stranglehold on women and men in the early 90s and mid 2000s. His roles range from animation to historical epics. However, what remains in most of these movies is his magnetism and range as an actor. Brad also has great comedic timing. In the film Meet Joe Black, we see Brad Pitt flex his ability to be incredibly subdued in his layered performance, terrifying and captivating, sometimes all in the same scene. Meet Joe Black is a remake of the 1934 story Death Takes a Holiday. In the film Meet Joe Black, the film starts off with a rich media magnate named William Parrish. Get it? Will Parrish? Anyway, resting in bed and feeling a pain in his arm. The event looks to be an oncoming myocardial infarction, aka a heart attack. And as he looks around the room in pain, Will hears a voice call out to him and say, yes. We as the audience know who the voice is, so to speak, and it lets Will know without saying anything else, his time is up. The pain Will feels subsides, and we follow William as he grabs his morning paper from his maid in his palatial palace. He is greeted by his eldest daughter, Allison Parrish, who dotes and preens for affection and validation from him. And she single-handedly organizes every inch of her father's upcoming birthday celebration, whether he likes it or not. We see a scene with the daughter he truly cares for, named Susan Parrish, who loves him and has made a name for herself as a doctor. The film follows the youngest daughter as she has coffee at a local restaurant. She can suddenly hear the loud conversation of her patron using an indoor payphone. Oh, how I miss the 90s. Anyway, the young man is laughing and talking loudly and very compassionately to what seems like a significant other on the other end of the phone. We never find out the young man's name in the film, by the way. From this moment, Susan is simultaneously annoyed and smitten when she finally sees the young man as he hops off his call. The man looks at Susan and asks her to pass the sugar. She does, and he informs her that he was talking to his little sister. Susan is relieved, and the pair sparks up a conversation, and the man talks about love and the importance of relationships and how it's about sacrifice and compromise. He talks about how if his wife worked all day, he'd be more than happy to take care of her and give her what she needs, especially if he was married to Susan. Susan is surprised, and the way she looks at him indicates that he is not only good looking, but thoughtful, considerate, and the love and passion she needs desperately right now. The conversation reaches its end, and the two of them have to part. Susan walks one way and the man walks another. As Susan walks away, she turns around to look at him as if to say stay, but she changes her mind and walks to her job. The sublime soundtrack composed by Thomas Newman soars, adding to the kismet moment. Susan feels in a loveless engagement to her fiancé named Drew. Drew is a dickhead of the highest order, and Susan is getting married to Drew, more as an obligation seemingly to her father than anything else. As the woman walks on, the man turns around in the middle of a busy New York intersection. He's thinking of running to her, or at least calling out to her, but he doesn't. The young man doesn't even think of his own safety, only that his chance at love is walking the hell away. He blew it somehow. The young man's head hangs low in defeat. Car horn alerts him he's in the fucking street. He quickly dodges the car and is suddenly hit by another. In the scene, I like watching Brad's range of expressions. He is great at conveying a wealth of emotions, all communicated through his facial features alone. The mysterious voice from this morning follows William and returns to him in his moment of pain. The voice the old man heard appears from his study in the form of a young man who was just in an accent earlier in the film. However, something is different about this man. He has changed, and in this moment, this young man is not a man at all, but death itself. Death has a business proposition for William. If William can be hospitable and show death around his luxurious life for one weekend without revealing his true identity to anyone, then death will extend William's time on Earth. What I love about Brad Pitt's portrayal of death. Yes, Brad Pitt is very beautiful in this film. He is also a very talented actor. He can capture the youthful, love-struck naivete of a young man, and at the same time this almost primordial presence of an angel of death, effortlessly. When the character of death looks at Anthony Hopkins and stares him down and says, "Yes," I get the chills. Brad Pitt is also hilarious, and yes, he continues his trend of eating on camera, with the peanut butter and cookies scene. When Death visits the hospital and approaches the dying Jamaican woman who knows exactly who he is, Brad Pitt effortlessly speaks in a Jamaican patois. "Oh man, I on holiday." I love the scene where for a moment he takes the woman's unending pain away so that she can briefly experience what death will be like. It always makes me choke up. Meet Joe Black is a wonderful romantic movie with an all-star cast. Yes, it's a bit slow at times, but I always love watching Brad Pitt. It's one of my favorite Brad Pitt movies. Denzel Washington as Ezekiel, Easy Rawlins in Devil in the Blue Dress. Denzel Washington is timeless, a man who has withstood most of his acting contemporaries, unblemished, unproblematic, and unapologetic. Denzel's scene in Glory, to this day, always makes me cry. You know the scene. I eagerly await his role in Black Panther 3. However, among the many movies Denzel has done that captivate me, it's his role as Easy Rawlins, a war veteran and private detective in the 1990s film A Devil in the Blue Dress. I did a video a year ago of how I love the final scene of this movie because of how Denzel captures the strength, grace, and confidence in just the way he walks. I think this movie, Malcolm X, Mississippi Masala, and He Got Game were the best Denzel has looked athletically I've ever seen in a long time. Just to give you a very brief rundown of the tale of Devil in the Blue Dress, the story tells us tale of Easy Rawlins, a young war vet who is trying to make ends meet and pay for his new house in Watts, California. He loses his job at a local warehouse and desperately needs money. Easy spends his time at a local bar, circling wanted ads and coming up empty. The bartender, named Joppy, is aware Easy is looking for some work and knows someone who wants him to find a woman, a mistress of a local up-and-coming politician. Along the way, Easy encounters murder, betrayal, and a corrupt system of high-powered officials engaged in disgusting activities. On top of all that, the woman he is trying to find is not only a mistress, but a biracial woman who knows the secrets of these dangerous men. Like I said before, check out this video if you want to learn more about the movie and my thoughts on Denzel. But specifically, what I love most about Denzel's portrayal of Easy Rawlins is that I'm able to envision myself in the role. I love the stories of Philip Marlowe and Perry Mason. And the story that author Walter Mosley has written captures these same stories from a Black lens. Easy appears in 14 of Mosley's novels and short stories, which I plan to read this summer. Denzel's dynamism as an actor shows that he can play vulnerable when he needs to, specifically when he's being interrogated in the police station. This scene feels very real and very unsettling.
What do you mean? It means this morning. I was out drinking. I carried a friend into his house. And I don't know, I could have been on my way home. I don't know, I ain't looking at no clock.
But what makes this scene great is that even though Easy is in real danger, he never cowers or backs down. He lets the cops know he's not the one to fuck with. And I love to see that. The Coretta lovemaking scene also is one of my favorites in the movie. And it shows when Denzel is trying to be quiet while he and Coretta are getting it on, while Coretta's husband is asleep in the next room. Denzel in the scene is very funny, and the scene is sexy without being raunchy. Denzel is also great when he shows his rage and anger. I love the scene when he figures out Joppy, the bartender, was responsible for having Coretta killed. Denzel lets Joppy know his rage by beating the shit out of Joppy's prized marble counter with a hammer. Denzel's voice, movements, and cadence are truly a sight to behold. Denzel Washington is magnetic, and I love the relationship he has with Don Cheadle's character, Mouse.
Let him go. Let him live. And he'll be scared of you every time you walk into a room.
Mouse is an old-time friend of Easy's, who's more of an act of nature than a man. Mouse is also a man that Easy cannot control. I love the costumes and soundtrack of this movie, and I love the elegance and sexy sophistication of Denzel, especially the scene where he's dressed up and he visits the courthouse to visit the politician.
Talking about Mr. Carter's business to his secretary.
I don't want to hear it, man. There's too much going on for me to give a damn about what you think is smart.
That's a great scene, and it shows his swagger. It's something few actors have yet to master, and yet Denzel wields his aura so effortlessly. My final thoughts. I struggle to decide whether I should do this video. It's not a big fact that as I get older, a lot of my insecurities have faded away. My ego is still intact, but it's less ignorant, less rigid in my old age. The hardness of my youth has given way to a more pliable sense of self. A sense of self where I feel comfortable admitting that I love watching these three men in movies, and that I feel it's okay to admit when something or someone is beautiful. Not a lot of people are given their flowers while they are alive. All three men affect me differently, but all three men capture aspects of myself that I like to see. Jaye Davidson captures the feminine, charming, and seductive aspects of myself. Brad captures my curious and magical, mysterious nature. And Denzel captures who I aspire to be in my completed final form. Sophistication, sensuality, and strength personified in a single being. What I mean to say is that it's okay to feel attracted to men on screen and off screen. Whether you consider yourself straight or gay is beside the point. The point is how you feel, and I like the feeling I feel when watching Jaye Davidson, Brad Pitt, and Denzel Washington on screen. I'm comfortable with myself to admit that regardless of whether the films are good or not, or if you feel these men are beautiful or not, you don't have to limit yourself to enjoyment because of what people may or may not think of you, if they think at all. I guess it's like the old saying, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and these three men have mesmerized me, and I'm not ashamed to say so. If you like what I had to say, feel free to like, share, or subscribe. Are there men or women who mesmerize you on screen? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other. My name is Cabs, and I'll see you when I see you.